Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Big Bros podcast. My name is Ilan, and I'm joined by my lovely friend and co-host, Jeremy. But more importantly, we are joined by Dyson Heppell, former AFL player who played 253 games for the Essendon Football Club from 2011 to 2024, captaining the team from 2017 to 2022. How are you, mate?
Going well, lads. Going real well. Thanks for having me here.
Welcome to the show, mate. Great to have you on. Now, Dice, you've been out of the game a year now and well and truly enjoying retirement, still playing footy by the looks of it. What has it looked like stepping out of the game, and how have you been spending your time mostly being a year out now?
Yeah, nice. It's crazy that it's been a year already. Sort of memory popped up from my retirement speech from 12 months ago, only a couple of months ago now, and it's just wild how quickly that 12 months has gone. But it's been a real roller coaster, honestly, this last 12 months. It's sort of, you go off the riding the joys and the love of support that had come in since announcing my retirement, and then, play your final game up in Brizzy and did a bit of travel, with my wife, and we got a nice road trip up the East Coast and things like that. We're in a nice little space for a couple of months post-retirement, and then sort of hit that phase of the reality of it all coming to an end. And it sort of just hit home a bit about, like, you have everything mapped out day to day, the whole routine of the AFL environment, and all of a sudden you're on your own and left to your own devices and figure out what's next. So it was sort of like having that moment of reflection, which was really nice, and then just, I think, that real acceptance and acknowledgement that it's all finished and putting a full stop on that chapter and being able to move into the next phase of my life. But so that certainly wasn't all, happy and joyful. There were certainly times that were quite challenging and trying to navigate the heaviness of retirement. But at the same time, I've managed to find myself with things to do with a bit of purpose and meaning, and also not completely cut ties with footy. As you said, I've had a bit of a kick in the VFL with Port Melbourne this year, along with the odd game with Lean Gather back home in the country, which got ourselves in a little granny this week coming up. So I'm in a really good space now, in a really healthy space of just fully embracing this next chapter. And but it's been a big year, man. I got married in Jan earlier this year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was a 15-year deep relationship. Finally got it done and had
High
a full
school sweethearts, eh?
That's it, yeah, for sure. And then, but then we launch it. We're in business together. We're running Haychthelabel with little H-man, and that's come with its challenges too, spending more time together, right on top of each other, working together. So we're navigating that as well, and just learning a whole heap throughout the last 12 months.
No, it sounds like you've been up to a lot of work and a lot of stuff post-retirement. I'm curious to know, a lot of athletes struggle with forging an identity outside of their sports during their career. Was that ever an issue for you?
Yeah, I think since hanging up the boots, I have a lot of empathy for those that struggle, post-career, whether it is footy, any sport, even Olympic athletes. You hear them talk about the identity sort of post finishing their careers. And I did a lot of work towards the back end of the year of trying not to wrap my whole identity as Dyson the footballer and what that actually looked like. But having said that, I have I think a real understanding now that it's not as easy as just being like, that's not my identity. I think you have to navigate that period of, just allowing the emotions to wash over, and just having that, I think, full acceptance that it was a massive part of my life. It was my life. Since 5 years old, I had the dream to play AFL footy. Got drafted to the club I supported, coached by my hero, James Hird, in my first few years, and just had this unbelievable experience throughout my career with so many ups and downs, and learn a whole heap, and it's really shaped a lot of who I am as a person. And it's really all I knew, to be honest. So it's like, all of a sudden, it's like, hang on, no, it's not as easy just going, this next phase now. So there was a months worth of navigating and, looking into it and, speaking with psychologists and just being really open and honest with how I was feeling. And trying to get excited about what was next.
Yeah, did those conversations start when you were still in the game, and at what stage does that kind of happen? And is it something that happens across the board for all players in the club, where you sit down with people that want to support you about for going to that next step after footy? Does that happen when you're still in the game, and does it happen for everyone, or is it really on your own accord?
Well, it's a bit of both. The club are really... The club are great, and the AFL environment in general, along with the Players Association, are awesome at, finding pathways for every player to have an interest outside of footy, finding your passions, hobbies that you can pursue, knowing the average career now, I think it's 2 or 3 years in the system, so it's pretty short-lived. But also the onus is on the player yourself. So it's sort of... I guess I was always just curious about other things outside of the footy world, more so really curious about the mental space around elite sport and being in that environment, and how beneficial it is, like the sports psychology itself. And just sort of went on a path of exploration around, how mentally resilient can I be, and how many, tools to my kit can I add to make sure I'm in a really strong, healthy mental space to perform at my best. And I was probably, even pushed down that path even further about what footy means to be, what my values are during the supplement saga, where footy itself got ripped away, for 12 months throughout that period, where, it had been dragging on for 3 or 4 years, and all of a sudden, you're sanctioned, you're banned for 12 months, and it made me have a real sort of look within on what I actually really value. It probably gave me a lot more joy with my footy towards the back end of my career, knowing it can be taken away just like that. It was I think it probably did force me to really look at, okay, what's my identity here within this scenario?
So what were those almost silver linings to being out of the game post-supplement saga? I mean, it's obviously well documented, and it hit you guys as a shock, but also it seems like that it provided a period of where you could self-reflect, and like you mentioned, it actually helped you towards the back end of your career. So what was that year off like, and what was the mental state like, and were you doing it all on your own, or were you with your teammates and going through it together for the most part?
Yeah, well, this is it. And I think I can only speak from my experience through all of this, and part of what I do want to be wary of is that I was young at the time. I was 19 when it first started. By the time we were sanctioned in 2016, I was 21 or 22, and I still had a long career ahead of me, whereas that actually ended guys' careers. That was the last time they stood on the footy field, and I have a lot of empathy for those guys. But the best thing was we had a lot of us that went through it together. There were 34 of us at the time. We had, we were so proud of it, all of us, that no one fractured from that group. We had a hell of a lot of support around us to get through and navigate that period. And we got to a point where we were really comfortable being open and honest about how we were feeling through those phases. So it forced us to open up to each other, like, in a really masculine environment. It allowed, I think it gave us, or nearly forced us to soften a bit and just be really raw and open with each other to help us get through it together, which was really important, along with our close support network around us with family and, our partners and wives and whatnot as well. So, without having each other, it would have been a genuine mare of a time.
You've spoken a lot about how crucial forgiveness was as a theme for you to move past that supplement saga. Was there a specific interaction, a conversation with a sports psych, a coach, maybe someone in your family or a friend that kind of moved that needle?
I don't think there was a specific conversation that I do recall, but I think it was just the accumulation of all the different learnings, conversations, even listening to podcasts, reading books, all of this kind of stuff that just opened me up to go, well, I can control how I'm actually feeling and the choices I make towards whether I hold on to this heaviness, whether I want to blame others for this situation. And all of a sudden I was like, well, I actually get a choice on how I feel and how I navigate this, this period moving forward. And I was like, I just wanted to get back to my, happy, bubbly, optimistic, joyful self, and really love footy again. That was probably more it. It was like footy became a bit of a dark cloud over it, and I'd never had that. I'd always had this just like having so much fun since tearing around on an Auskick, at Auskick when I was a kid, and I had that same joy right throughout my career until that period of time, and it was like, I get a choice on how I navigate this going forward, and a lot of that came down to complete forgiveness of everyone that was involved in that situation to clear, I guess, my own conscience. Yeah.
Did you find in that 2016 year that one of the best things, because for some athletes it might be just to completely disconnect from the TV, not to watch any of the games.
Yeah.
For others it might be to, ride every bump and kind of still state, but just watch from the sidelines. What was that period like for you?
Yeah, it was interesting how everyone went about it differently. Some guys loved reading every article so they knew what was happening, and others really did disconnect and tried to get away from it as far as they possibly could. But I think what I found was that no matter what you tried to do, whether you tried to get away from it all, even your friends and whatever would be like, don't listen to what they're saying, and it's like, well, what are they saying? It was a funny dynamic throughout that phase, and I spent probably the first month, Kate and I actually went up to the Barmah Forest, no phone reception, water skiing, camping for like 3 weeks, and that was right after we got sanctioned. So it was like, while the whole shitstorm was going on, I just really wanted to clear my head, get away from everything, to be able to come back and handle it without the heaviness of all the emotion in that specific time. So I think that was really important for me, just to get away and just spend time by myself, really trying to let everything sink in, and then be in a space to be able to make clear decisions and be there for others as well. Yeah. That initial phase was really important, and then coming back, to a genuine shitstorm actually after we came back from the river. It was just a really interesting period. But then from there on in, I think I probably grew a hell of a lot as a person and as a leader throughout that phase, trying to help my teammates. Found I had a real care and empathy towards what they were going through. We're in it together, but just how everyone else was handling it themselves. And it really helped me just grow up. Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned being there for your teammates. You mentioned coming back with a clear vision, being your bubbly self, and being the best version of yourself for your teammates ultimately. Then Joe Watson was your skipper at the time. Obviously, as a skipper, you would have to have that kind of responsibility for the whole club, for the whole cohort of players. So what did leadership look like then, and what were some of those almost gold nuggets that you might have learned from Job that you then took under your wing when you then became skipper? Yeah, man, I could not be more grateful to have Job as our leader during that period. He was just incredible, and my view of Job was he was just this like absolute beast on the field that would drag us over the line time and time again. But what I did see was a real sacrifice of his own performance throughout this period, to try his absolute best to clear all of us, his teammates, from the situation itself. He just spent countless hours going to bat with the AFL, against the SADA, just gaining more and more knowledge of the situation and expressing everything that had gone on in his most open, authentic way, to really try and help us through this period. And it was like, I think more so after the fact, I realised how much he had put into it. It completely drained him of all his energy and his love for footy really throughout that period as well. But yeah, just I owe an enormous amount of gratitude to Job for what he did for us as teammates and players, but the footy club. Yeah.
34 touches, 3 goals. Do you know which game I'm referencing?
Yeah, I know the game. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you describe that night? Yeah. What was going on pre-game for, I guess, all of you guys? Because I imagine it's the first time you're all together playing since probably like 2015, and there would have been some list changes as well. How was that?
Yeah, wild. First game back, 2017 v Hawks on a Friday night, I think that sucker was. So it was, just as you say, like coming out the back end of the year off from the sanction, finding my real love and passion for footy again, coming back to the club, taking over the captaincy, having a pretty clean pre-season and just loving it again, being back around the boys and running amok. We played Hawthorn and Jared Roughhead, Len Gatherboy as well, grew up with his family, close friends. He took over the captaincy at Hawthorn as well. So, there was just so much going into this game. It was just the emotion of it was incredible. The Dons fans turned out. I think we had 95,000 at the G. And I remember coming out the race that night was just like, they sent shivers down my spine. It was just nuts, the whole environment and the atmosphere running out on the night. And it just ended up having a belter. Played one of the games of my career, I reckon. And I remember just like sharing the moments after the game. I think we won by a few goals, but sharing those moments, one with teammates, but more so the fans and our members that had stuck that right throughout that period, was a really special moment. We did a bit of a lap just to say thank you for still being here, and and the wheels were back in motion again. So probably the greatest memory, I reckon, of my career, actually. Wow. That game.
Wow.
With your leadership across your career, and especially when you were captain, do you reckon your leadership and the way you went about it changed throughout your career? And I mean, you obviously speak about the importance of positivity, the importance of, gathering your troops and bringing out the best in them and lifting them and being that positive light and energy. Can you always do that? And especially during those tough times where people have their heads down and the media is bloody bashing you, do you always have your head up, or do you sometimes just like almost own the fact that sometimes this is shit? It's more so how we respond to it. So what was your leadership like towards the team? Yeah,
it's a good shout. I think initially, like, I am a very optimistic person. I'm always one that'll find a bloody, a light at the end of the tunnel in no matter what situation you're in. But as you say, there probably were times where I nearly fabricated that just to try and, I guess, not show the boys that, I wanted to be that pillar of like, let's go, let's get this thing moving. We're okay. Things will be fine. But I think that's where I did really grow as a leader, was being willing to really open up about how I was feeling, learn to lean on others, learn to delegate, ask for help. I think when I took over the reins, it was like, I'll do everything. I don't want to burden anyone else. But I think that was the biggest growth throughout the period of my captaincy, was forming an awesome team of guys around me that were, our own. We were all captains. It was like making sure that the areas that I wasn't great at, I had guys there to lift, and they wanted to help. So that was a really important part, I think, learning how to delegate and ask for help.
What do you think your biggest strength was as a captain and leader, and maybe an area that you weren't as strong at?
I think my strengths were, my real care for my teammates. I found I was really open for them to come and talk to me about anything and ask for help, and I learned how to give feedback in my own way. Probably the knock on my leadership was around not just being really assertive in terms of my feedback, but when I went down, it just didn't feel natural for me to barrel bloke. So I found a way of being able to ask the question of them first, whether that aligned to the club's values or how we should be going, and sort of teasing it out of them to give me the answer rather than me just telling them how it is. So, I found my own unique way around feedback, but that is also a part where I did have guys around me that were happy just to give it how it is when it's needed, So, found a really nice balance. Leadership's never perfect. You're always learning. I'm not everyone's cup of tea as a leader. So, as I said, really important to have those guys around that can, appease others too. I think I left no stone unturned in terms of my preparation. I tried to be a great example of setting standards and doing the little things well to get my body and mind in a really good space to perform for the club and for my teammates every week. So, gave it a good nudge.
Absolutely, you did, mate. And you mentioned there those little 1%ers, those little things to make you go above and beyond. What is that in terms of the AFL? Because obviously, people listening that might be playing VAFA level even and younger in grassroots footy, what are those little 1%ers that you can implement no matter what level you're playing at to really go above and beyond, both on the field and maybe even as a leader?
Yeah, I think it's certainly evolved throughout my career as well. Early days, I was just really curious to different recovery modalities, how I could get the best out of my performance, and I probably overdid it at times in terms of my training. I'd obviously rock up and you do your sessions at the club, but it was probably more the external stuff outside of the club with cross training, Pilates, yoga, hypoxic swim sessions, all this kind of jazz that I was just exploring at a young age, but probably overdid it and found myself fatiguing at times. So it was a real learning experience of finding, what worked for me. But, I was always one that just wanted to get the absolute most out of my career. And then, later on down the track, I learned more about the importance of rest, recovery, proper nutrition, and what really, benefited my body. And then more so the mental space. How quickly can I clear my head, de-stress, and I really noticed the physical aspects of stress and anxiety and fear, how that actually sits in your body and how that can fatigue you quickly and not allow you to recover as quick as you normally would if you're in a really healthy mental space. So incredible learnings, right throughout that space. Yeah.
I'm a massive fan of mindfulness, and I know that the AFL started implementing more mindfulness programs. I think maybe Richmond was even like the pioneer of it in 2016 or even 2017. Was there any mindfulness programs or a big emphasis on mental health and kind of well-being that you started to see maybe in the back end of your career, or was it something that was kind of always there?
Yeah, look, I think it's been around for a long time, but more so noted and public now, and more of an openness from players to really dive into this space, realising the benefits of it. It was certainly around early in my career. We had an amazing sports psych, Jonah Oliver, who works with some of the best around the world. And Jonah, he was incredible. I'd see him as much as I could at the club, because just trying to gain as much knowledge as I could in that space. And we had a mindfulness practice from early on. And for me, it was quite interesting. Like I feel like I did it all purely for performance, all of that. And then noticing now post-career, it's like just incredible for your life in general. So, it's I did go down a whole different, I guess, explored a whole different avenue of mindfulness, meditation, breath work, so many different things to try and get myself in a really just healthy frame of mind.
Yeah, fantastic. I want to recall a memory, actually. I think it was maybe a couple years now. I remember actually going to a breathwork session at the Breath House and actually seeing you there. So, mate, there you go. So it's good to be a part of, and it's good to
shout out to the Breath House, brother.
Shout out to the Breath House.
That's fine.
Absolutely. But you mentioned just mindfulness and de-stressing, and do you think a lot of that you can almost feel like your upbringing had a big role in that? Maybe being away from the big smoke at times and just really just learning how to enjoy life for what it is, maybe in a more grounded way. What lessons and almost appreciation do you take out of your upbringing, and what did it look like?
Yeah, love it. And no doubt, I have a lot to be very thankful for to my upbringing. Amazing parents, had two brothers, younger and older brother, and we were competitive as buggery, but best mates as kids. Growing up in the country, we'd have regular camping holidays, water skied a whole heap together as a family. So we just had a mad little time down in Leongatha, and had an awesome group of friends that are but still my best mates. Or mates that I went to kindergarten with were my groomsmen at my wedding. Wow. So it's like really cool to have that crew from back home that you have grew up with and shaped a lot of who you are as a person, still there 30 odd years later. So I think sport in general was a big part of my upbringing. Played a lot of footy, and basketball was probably my main sport leading up from the ages of, say, I don't know, 8 to 15, 16.
Had to make that decision.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's sort of, I think everyone caught up to my ability and height and speed by that age. So footy was an easy decision. But I think, I had a great experience travelling to the city every Friday night and Sunday, played with the Melbourne Tigers with basketball in, a number of VC championships and national carnivals and things like that. So I think I had a nice balance of experiencing elite environments at a young age in the city against different personalities and people, and was exposed to so many different environments, as well as having that groundedness of living in the country, spending time in nature, having a ball with your friends, and so real cool upbringing.
It sounds like you were never, and maybe I'm wrong, because people have different ways in the way they kind of manage expectations and big events, but was there ever a pinch me moment when you did first arrive into the AFL system?
I think I was just so bloody happy when I got drafted. I was just like, this is the best shit ever. Like I was, barrack for Bombers, coming to pre-season for my first training session, meeting all the boys, and then it was like, and playing under Hurdy, and quickly he became a real mentor of mine and gave me real confidence in my own self to go, he was just like, mate, don't hold back one bit in terms of you as a leader. If you're good enough throughout this pre-season, I'll play you. And gave me a license just to get after it. And he was like, go and pit yourself against the best players, see how you stack up. So that pre-season, I just went and attacked it and just had so much fun doing it. It wasn't it was an enjoyable competitiveness, not like I'm coming for your spot. It was like, let's go, let's have a dig together, and grow and get each other better. So, had a ball. And I remember Jakey Malcolm was a year older than me at the time. And I remember Malky, he was in the team at the time in his first year, and I remember just competing with him right throughout those pre-seasons as well, and just having a ball. But yeah, they were sort of the moments just in that initial phase. And even I do recall the NAB Cup it was at the time.
Yeah, the NAB Cup.
Played in my first one of them, and I just remember like how addictive the feeling was walking off the ground at the end of that game. I was like, this is fucking unbelievable. Like, it might have only been 20,000 or 15,000 there, but I was like, this is incredible. So much fun.
Do you reckon the guys coming into the AFL now also have the exact same feel and mindset towards it, or do you reckon there is a little bit more almost pressure and feeling of really needing to perform? Do you think it's changed or shifted since you entered the system?
Oh, no doubt. It's changed a heap. I don't even think I even had Facebook back then when I first started. So now you just see the media scrutiny that comes on kids from 16 years of age, getting every move picked apart at every carnival or TAC or the coach league now, that their game they're playing, school footy, things like that. So there is a whole heap of pressure added to that. But I also think kids are more mature now coming into the system. They're confident. They're willing to embrace all of that. So there's probably two elements of it. I've certainly found the confidence in kids that are coming in now is incredible, and they're open to all of that, happy to be themselves. And that was a massive part of what I wanted to foster and create at the club when it was part of my leadership, was an environment where you felt so safe to be yourself. Felt a real sense of belonging, and you could thrive in that environment. And I feel like, kids are naturally coming in now sort of feeling they're comfortable within themselves and just going to get after it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there are definitely times in your career where, people came knocking on the door, you would be a superstar in the AFL. So loyalty is always something that comes to mind when we think of Dyson Heppell, and why the Essendon faithful have absolutely loved you and always will. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk at the moment. Zach Merritt's name's been floating around, whether he stays, whether he goes. Do you think loyalty has shifted in the AFL now compared to what it is? Is it the same?
Nah, nah, it's not. Nah, and look, I'm a very loyal person, but it's become a business. No doubt, it is a beast of a business. Always has been. But I feel at the same time, it's like you see how quickly the club will just turn their back on you if you're not performing, or it can just happen like that. Right. So people need that, and look, I have all respect to anyone that goes to explore their options. It's like, honestly, it's there's no harm in doing that. It's just like you got to take care of yourself, absolutely. My values, I'm a very loyal person, so I'll give everything and commit, and to whatever I've signed up for, I'm going to have a good dig. But that's not to say there were certainly moments throughout my career where there were opportunities to leave, and went down that path to have the conversations. But in the end, it come back to what do I really want to stand for? At the end of the day, what do I really want to hang my hat on? And those around me and those that have supported, and can we grow through a period of struggle together and come out the other side? And when I really looked at it, yeah, I'm an optimistic dude and thought we could win a flag every year. But at the end of the day, it never happened. I never won a bloody final. But the on-field success might not be my success. I think it was more so my willingness to commit the cause, help those around me, develop and guide others, and leave a positive mark on the club, on my teammates, and those that played under my leadership. So I think at the end of the day, that's more my success. But it's not to say everyone else has their own prerogative. They have different views, and all respect to anyone that goes and gets after it. And you mentioned Zachy, like, no dramas. Go and have a conversation with Hawthorn. That's all it's been, Yeah. And if it ends up happening, I think everything he's given to the club, he's carried the team through a lot and performed to the absolute best he possibly can. Committed his entire life to footy. He's obsessed with the game, obsessed with getting the best out of himself and trying to help others as well. So,
Did you ever have those conversations with other clubs, even if you knew in the back of your mind you're going to be staying a Bombers man? If so, what do those meetings look like? Because, all it takes is one person to flick a text to a journo being like, saw these two people meeting, and then suddenly you're front page of Trade Radio.
Yeah, true that. No, it is interesting. I think a couple of clubs came in throughout the end of the saga. So, I still had a number of years left on my deal, but there were opportunities to leave at that phase. But that was more chats through my management. Never really had full face-to-face conversations. So that was that one. But then interesting one in 2022, I think the Gold Coast, they were, Kate and I actually spoke about maybe one day we'll move to Byron or that way. And then Gold Coast came knocking, and that one was a pisser. It was with, I actually met him just at a pub in Albert Park. And we sat in a booth having a beer, chewing the fat. Yeah. No managers. It was just them and I. And just sort of thought, okay, what's the reality of this? What would it look like? Mapped out some terms on what it could look like. So I had something to actually go and consider. And it was more just like me just chewing the fat with them, seeing what would work and leaving me to go and ponder and let them know whether they should pursue it as aggressively as they wanted or not. And then after a period of time, it was more so me. And, in conjunction with Kate, with my wife, it was about just like, no, what's best for us? Yeah. What are we doing moving forward? I was, mature at that stage, 30-year-old, 31, and made a decision to stay. Yeah.
Good on you. Yeah. Now, when you gave your retirement speech to the club, there was something you mentioned where you recounted a lot of the things that you're going to miss about footy, the things that you loved about footy. And one of those things was how you'll really miss just running out with the little tackers, seeing the little tackers. And there are so many little tackers that you've been across throughout your career. One of them, obviously well documented, H-Man Harrison. And there was another young girl that, was over the fence, big fan of yours. Her name was Layla, and you met early in the career, and then when you finished up, you gave her a big hug over the fence. And I wanted to ask, where did the passion come from to really give so much to the young kids that support you, to the young kids around you? Was that always ingrained in you? And if so, where did that come from?
Yeah, no, I honestly think it came from me as a kid, just being so excited if I ever got to see an AFL player, just how obsessed I was with the game as a kid. And, you don't get too much access to them down in the country. And I remember just having a ball at an Auskick clinic when, Dustin Fletcher and Mark McVeigh and Dean Solomon and Sean Wellman and these guys rocked up to a clinic, and I was just like, wanted everything signed and just pestering the shit out of them. But knowing they were just like memories I had for my whole childhood, and, coming into the system, I was like, well, I am so privileged to be in a position to, just by going to say g'day or signing an autograph can make someone's day or give them a memory for forever, you know. So I was big on if there was ever a moment a kid wanted something done, I'll do it. Just like, and it filled me up. Like, I got so much joy out of making kids smile or making them laugh or whatever it may be, and they were the best times. Like running through the banner with each week, there's a new, they call them like little junior mascots.
Yep.
They run through the banner with you, and you just get right around them. If they were a bit nervous, you just razz them up, tell them a joke, or just like it's so much fun. And you'd run over with them and give them high fives and ask them how they have fun, and they're like, by the end of it, they're just like, like, so much joy, and sort of just trying to, I don't know, I feel like that just really helped put the AFL environment into perspective. It was just like, it's just a game, in the end, if you can make others smile throughout it, then how good.
Yeah. And I imagine the awesome work you do with Haychthelabel. Just you're wearing the garment now. It's a sick picture, and like I love the drawings. But I'm really curious, like, has there been a specific moment or a meaningful moment that you've had with Harrison that you kind of look back on and think, wow, that's really given me a ton of perspective on life and not just my footy career?
Yeah, for sure. And that was, the big part of. He's played a massive chapter in my life, in our lives, and it's probably the initial phases, first couple of years meeting the kid and just seeing his character and how much love and care he had for other people with everything he was going through at the time, and countless visits with him at Royal Children's Hospital, and just seeing how he would make the nurses and surgeons laugh and smile, and with everything he was going through, and it just gave me a real perspective on, man, like, there's challenges and then there's real challenges, and you get a choice on how you handle these situations, and he just, all of a sudden gave me a whole different outlook on everything that I was going through at certain phases of my life. Wins and losses, or losses certainly weren't as heavy after meeting him and having a convo with him after we'd have a stinker or my own personal form. So he's shaped a lot of my own mental framework and personality.
Yeah, look, and in terms of raising awareness, there's no doubt that the awareness has well and truly been raised and is only getting bigger. I didn't know what scleroderma was until you guys, and I think it's becoming that household almost, that household condition that people start to really know about. So massive well done to the both of you, and to Kate as well. It's phenomenal. And is there one moment that you can maybe recount where maybe he said something to you, or there was something that you guys did together, an activity, and that's a moment that you will always just really you'll remember and it'll stick in your mind?
Yeah, probably the biggest one that really struck a chord was I'd spoken to him a couple of days prior, and they were going to make a decision. He had a lot of staph infection, so he's really prone to different infections, and had staph infection in his fingers, and they were deciding whether they were going to amputate 2 of his fingers. And I'm sitting there going, far out, like, you're just reflecting on challenges in my life, and you go, fucking Kate and I sitting there, and his mum messages saying, look, H is a bit nervous about the next couple of days. Do you mind just giving him a buzz? And I gave him a call, and in the end, he, by the end of the conversation, he's like, I'm all right with it. He's like, who needs fingers anyway? And I'm sitting there going, are you kidding me? Like, he's about to get 2 fingers, ended up happening, got 2 fingers amputated. And by the end of that conversation, he was just like, who needs fingers anyway? I'll find a way. I'll find a way with whatever situation I'm in to see, the best in it. And that little slogan we went with, I'm all right with that. That's on a lot of our kit now, and we've got caps and all that kind of jazz, and that's sort of where that stemmed from. But it's just nuts. Like a big moment of just like, man, kid's incredible.
What's the ultimate goal for Haychthelabel? Is it just to raise awareness? Is it to kind of create more charity work? Or is it just see how you go and whatever happens?
This is the thing, for those that haven't really heard or know what H is, what we've been talking about, via Harrison, little H man. Through our relationship, my grandmother passed away from scleroderma, same condition as H. She was the youngest in the world to be diagnosed, the only one in Australia with his type of it. And we came up with the concept of the clothing label to try and impact this kid's life as much as we can. All the graphics on the kit are his designs, his artworks. Proceeds of sale help go towards ticking off his bucket list items. So we've done some really cool stuff, trips in Lambos, private jets, helicopters, b-ball games, NBA players, footy, rugby, soccer, the works. So I think the big dream now, with part of H-Man's personality and outlook too, he wants to impact as many other kids as he can as well.
Wow.
So the big dream is to grow this thing as much as we possibly can, start bringing other kids that have been less fortunate, that are going through trying times, along for the journey, giving them experiences and their families, things that they will never forget. And also give them the opportunity to create little custom pieces for themselves, their family and friends as well. So we've got a bit of a vision. We started as a bit of a passion project. The support was overwhelming and incredible. Now it's our full-time gig, so we're having a good dig with it and see where it goes.
Wow, epic. Now, Dice, a big theme of our show, Big Bros, is looking at the mentors or the role models or the people in our lives that really shaped us and that have given us inspiration to be better humans. Now, who is that? Maybe one person or multiple people, but if you can really think of maybe that one person that's really shaped you, had a massive influence over you, and has really meant a lot for you now and throughout your life and going forward.
Man, good one. Geez, I haven't really thought about this too much, but I think I had heroes, as you would per se, as a kid. Loved my NBA, so watching Michael Jordan and Kobe and just getting inspired by those guys. And then within footy, Scott Pendlebury getting drafted out of Gippsland, even Daisy Thomas, and I love Simon Black as a player, Chris Judd. These type of guys that just lit me up to want to pursue that dream. So that's sort of the footy and sport element, but I think on the other side, more so as a kid, I just idolised my old man. Had awesome parents, played a lot of sport, but just had, idolised dad, and just, running amok and wanting to do everything he was doing. He's physically active, fit, good at footy, and just a, bubbly personality. And I think, an awesome little upbringing, and just sort of inspired by my old man as well. And then, just like, I don't know, I'm so grateful to have incredible people in my life, and just learning a lot from so many different people that I meet. And then, there's that element. And then even throughout early phases of my career, getting involved with different charity work and,
When you shaved your hair, I remember as well.
The dreads.
The pill for the bushfires that rolled through Gippsland, and just seeing how much that impacted others, and just having a willingness and a want to do good, I guess, and try and help. Man, I can't really say one thing in particular, one person, but probably, to be honest, the biggest one that has shaped a lot of who I am now and what we've navigated together would be Kate. She was 16, I was 17 when we got together. We're now 33 and 32, so that's a big growth period throughout your 20s, and just shaping who we both are today and navigating so much throughout that time. So if I had to say one, it'd be KT, I reckon.
And what have you learned about relationships, being with her for so long and overcoming all these challenges together?
Yeah, they're not easy.
They're not. Can't imagine.
It's really not easy, man. But I think that's the beauty of it, is that it's not all smooth sailing, but you work through and navigate things together. And I think you find the joy on the other side of those challenges is far greater than just having a smooth ride the whole time. So it's sort of, she's challenged me in more ways than anyone. And, she's very honest, very open, very emotionally in tune. I was very stubborn, still am, but very closed off, didn't want to share too much. She's just sort of opened that whole side of me up. She's in tune with her spirituality, that kind of stuff, which has given me a whole different aspect and outlook as well. Sort of a lot of learnings.
No, I love to hear that. It sounds very, very special. Before we finish up, one question we sometimes like to ask our guests is, and in your case it would be, when people talk about Dyson Heppell beyond football, what would you hope that they say about you?
Gee, beyond footy, I think I'd like to be known as someone that was caring, he was generous, he was willing to support no matter what, he was loyal and just had a damn good crack. Whatever he put his mind to, he'd have a good go at it, see it through. Just bloody enjoy life, having a good dig.
I love that, mate. Yeah, we try not to be all that serious here, and we really like to just enjoy, those mundane moments and not take things too seriously and just have a crack. So you embody that. And now moving forward, what is it looking like for you? I mean, we did touch on it at the start of the show, but currently right now, if the Essendon faithful and those that love you, what are you doing right now? With yourself? What's your biggest focus right now?
Well, what's happening? I'm locking into a grand final with Ilan at the Parrots this weekend.
Good, man.
So hopefully when this comes out, whenever it does, we've won a flag. So that'll be mad. Like that'd be just one of the biggest joys to play with my brother and some of my best mates in a granny, which would be sick. I haven't won a flag since I was 13 back at Liga. 20-year hiatus. But yeah, locked into that. Locked into building out H with Harrison and Kate. I'm opening a recovery centre in Richmond called P3.
Awesome.
Shout out. In a couple of weeks, so get amongst that crew.
Absolutely, we'll tag that one.
Yeah, man, just plenty go on the go, and just trying to, keep myself in a really just healthy, fun, happy frame of mind. A bit of travel next year. We're going to, Kate and I never really got a proper honeymoon, so we're going to do 6 or so weeks around Europe, which would be sick.
Fantastic.
Man. So, just having a good dig.
Awesome. Dice, before we finish up, do you want to plug the Haychthelabel website?
Happy days, yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yep, Haychthelabel.com if anyone wants to jump on, buy some kit. Supporting a great cause, or just via all the socials, links in the socials.
We'll attach everything in our showy so people will be able to go and find all the amazing work that you guys do. On that note, Dice, thank you so much for coming in and being a guest on the Big Bros podcast.
Yes, lads. Thanks for having me on. Love it.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers.